Hey guys, in this video we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about some modeling techniques. In the last video I did about the USS Enterprise refit, a lot of people really liked this model, which is done without all the complicated Aztec pattern and decals. It just has accented panel lines, and I've done that for a version of the Enterprise and a version of the Reliant. So since people have asked how to do that, I'm going to make a little video about how to put those grid lines on if you want your model to kind of look like these. And I figured while I did that, since the Wrath of Khan stuff has so much battle damage, I would talk about one of my favorite techniques, which is the salt method for battle damage. And you don't get to weather up Star Trek kits very much. Starfleet likes to keep things really clean, but if you get to do any Battlestar kits like this Viper, you'll be able to do a lot of battle damage. And all the chipping and damage I have on here is done with the salt technique that I'll show you in this video. So everything on that red stripe, all the silver breaking out, that's all done with salt. Another ship you really get to weather up is something like an X-Wing. So on this X-Wing, you can see there's a lot of salt chipping in a lot of the colors, a lot of silver chipping coming out underneath that gray base coat, and a lot of panel line accenting. So we'll see how to do most of that in this video. Now on the salt technique, it's really great for when you want to have different layers of paint and you want the newer coat to be chipped away and show what's underneath it. So what you have to start off with is putting on the undercoats. So on mine, since this is going to be battle damage, I'm going to show a lot of charred parts and metal parts underneath the nice paint job that gets blown away. So I'm going to start off just by airbrushing some black onto the model. Alright, now that that black paint is dried, we just use plain old table salt. I've just put it in a baggie here for it to be easy to get to, and a water mister. A lot of people use hairspray for this as well. I usually find it works just fine with a little misting of water. So just going to put some water on it, and then I'm going to start sprinkling the salt where I want it to be. And I'm not going to do too much since I just want a little bit of black. Most of it I'm going to do as silver. Next up, we're going to spray a silver color for our bare metal. Once the silver is dry, we're going to mist it again and apply some more salt to mask off the parts that will remain that nice bare metal. I'm going to mostly just try and go right around where we're going to have that black. Gonna shape it a little bit to how I want it. And we'll let that dry. And finally, it's time to spray our white base coat. Well, now we have finished the white color. So now we're just going to use some warm water and a soft brush, and we're going to start cleaning off that salt. And underneath the salt, we're going to be revealing those other shades of paint that we'd masked off with the salt. To reveal kind of the chipping. All right, so here's how some of that battle damage looks at this stage. We're going to come back and do a little bit more on that in a little bit, but first we're going to work on accenting these panel lines. So we're going to use a wash, and a wash is a paint that is very thin and very heavy on pigment. These two are oil-based, so they're what I use mostly when I'm painting with acrylics, but you can also get acrylic panel wash, and I'll talk about why I'm not using that in just a little bit. And you can make your own. You just need to get a paint and thin it out quite a bit. But I think the pre-made things work a little bit better. So we're going to mix it up really well. And then you're just going to drip it into those seams. All right. We're just going to drip it into those seams and let capillary action kind of pull it throughout the grid here. Now it can be a little messy at this point, that's all right. We just want to cover all of it. So what we're doing on that other piece is a pin wash, great for little panel lines. But the other way you can do a wash is kind of a little bit of a gunk wash. And I actually love that effect of a dark wash over chrome. And I was looking at this old Reliant we're kind of playing with, and I saw I had not done that on the chrome there. So I'm going to take a little bit here. And this is one where you're really going to let it be messy to fill in kind of all of those spots. And it'll be a really great effect once it dries. I'm just going to take a bit and I'm just going to put this wash on it and let it flow and sink into the deep recesses and really cover the entire piece here. And it's going to be a great effect once it dries and settles into those crevices. It's very thin and very wet, so you've got a lot of time to play with it. To kind of get it nice and even throughout the surface. You can even do a little bit up here. But washes are really great for bringing out some detail. Now that the wash has had some time to sit, it's time to clean it up. And this is why it's important that your wash is a different material than your base coat, because enamel thinner will not touch acrylic. So we can put a little bit of enamel thinner on a Q-tip and use it to clean off these drips, and it leaves that white paint underneath alone. We can rub that white as much as we want with this Q-tip with thinner. Doesn't touch it. You see, it just cleans up the extra from the wash. So we just go over the surface, clean it up lightly with that Q-tip with thinner, and leave that pin wash in the panel lines only. Very fulfilling. And same thing here, we're just going to clean up a little bit, leaving it only in the recesses. And we'll give it a little bit more time to dry. Now, getting back to the battle damage, I generally like to finish it off with a little bit of artist pastels. So this is just a chalk pastel you can break up and apply with an old brush. This is going to make it dirty and dusty and kind of blend everything together. Now that we've kind of seen how to do the panel line washes, gunk washes, some of the chipping and damage, let's go back and look at it, how it actually looks on a model. So here is the USS Enterprise, just with a pin wash. Here's the Reliant, same thing with the pin wash, but here you can kind of see the difference between having some of that chrome just done in chrome or done in a wash. And back to the Viper from Battlestar, you can see the same gunk wash over the silver on all the engine parts, highlighting all of the different parts of the chrome here. You can see lots of silver chipping across the nose, salt chipping used across the red stripe. You can see some smears with the pastel kind of here by the engines, and more along those red stripes. All of that done with the salt technique. So obviously on kind of our example piece here, I did a very dark black wash, while on the Enterprise and the Reliant, I did more of a blue-gray wash. And you can really get washes in any color. So this is my dark gray one that they did. This is one made by Tamaya, a panel line accenter, and it's done in gray. This one is a rust-colored one that I used on the Millennium Falcon. And this one is just a gray I made myself by taking gray enamel and really thinning it down. I think this is actually what I used for these two ships. And of course, you don't have to get an oil-based wash. You can get an acrylic wash. Here's a great one. Kind of another dark gray. But with acrylic, you need to make sure you're not doing it on an acrylic base coat, or this can eat away at it and you can't really clean it up off of that. Well, I hope that this was informative or entertaining. I hope you guys got some ideas for things you can do your models. I hope it kind of answers the questions of how I achieved this look on the Enterprise and the Reliant. I had a lot of fun doing this video, so maybe in the future I'll do more of these technique videos, really get in depth in some of the lighting or other processes on model building. Leave your comments down below for what you'd like to see me do in the future. And thank you guys very much for watching.